Yo, did the Cleveland Cavaliers actually create a championship caliber roster without LeBron James? How did a team that has constantly failed at building a solid roster outside of their second run with LeBron create one of the best on-paper rosters in the entire NBA? Just 5 years after LeBron James took his talents to Hollywood, the Cavs have built a revamped, exciting, athletic, and talented young core group. Oh, and they just added Donovan Mitchell for pennies on the dollar. Cleveland has been synonymous with bad seasons when LeBron was not a part of them. The Cavs have had limited to no success in general for the entirety of my life. After multiple first-round exits through the early 90s, they were just marred by bad management, which led to consistent bad years before LeBron's first stint at Quicken Loans. Then he took his talents to Miami, and the Cavs had 3 first overall picks in 4 seasons before LeBron returned to deliver on his promise. And when he packed up and left for the second time, the Cavs saw 2 more years of struggle with back-to-back 19-win seasons. But something was different this time around. Unlike the previous pre-LeBron era of failure, this new era, headed by GM Kobe Altman, was focused on draft and development. The first domino fell with the 2017 offseason. Kobe Altman traded Kyrie Irving to Boston for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Zizic, and the Nets' 2018 unprotected first-rounder, which became Colin Sexton. Obviously, Sexton is a pretty solid player, a good 20-ish point per game scorer that was pivotal in this new Donovan Mitchell trade. Also, the strength of that pick is pretty good. Usually a bad pick can be extenuated by who comes after that pick, like Anthony Bennett in 2012, or whatever the hell the Timberwolves did back in 2009, picking 2 point guards before Stephen Curry. After Sexton, you can say maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Mikal Bridges, and Michael Porter Jr., if he ever gets healthy, are actually upgrades. And then the following year, they hit real pay dirt with Darius Garland. Isaac Okoro as the 5th overall pick in 2020 shored up that wing depth, and Evan Mobley in 2021 really set the Cavaliers up with some studs. But they were also making solid trades throughout this span, keeping their cap space clear, and they finessed Jarrett Allen from Brooklyn during that James Harden Rockets trade. This drafting and maneuvering set Cleveland up for a big play, and this offseason was the perfect storm. With stars being disgruntled and looking for new homes, somehow they landed a deal with Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz. Ainge was asking for the world and more from the Knicks, but he landed with the Cavs for 3 unprotected firsts, 2 first-round pick swaps, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and recently drafted Ochai Agbaji for Donovan Mitchell, which just bolstered the Cavaliers' entire lineup. What was just a 44-win team on the cusp of a playoff spot, but losing it with back-to-back play-in game L's, has just added one of the top scorers in today's NBA. Mitchell is one of the best 3-level scorers in the entire NBA. He drills threes at a high clip. Despite shooting 35.5% from deep, he did convert 39.7% of his spot-up threes. Mitchell is a beast off the dribble and is one of the best scorers in the pick and roll. Mitchell is in the 87th percentile as a ball handler and scorer out of the pick and roll. And of the players that have 6 or more such possessions, he is tied for 2nd in points per possession. Now with screens being set by Mobley and Allen, the Cavs screen and roll game is going to be amazing. Mitchell is an underrated passer too in these scenarios. I mentioned in my Gobert video that while Gobert does set brick wall amazing screens, he is amongst the best in the game in creating screen assists. His hands and ability to finish as a roll man are horrible. Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley both thrive as roll men in those situations. And while Mitchell has mostly been responsible for setting himself up on offense, he will now be playing with probably the best passer he's ever played with in Garland. And when Garland sits, he'll be with the 2nd best passer he's ever played with in Ricky Rubio. The prospect of what this team can be offensively is absolutely monstrous. Now, I was high on the Cavs and what they could have been in my predictions before they even added Spider. Now with him, they realistically can be amongst the top 3 teams in the East. Before I get ahead of myself though, obviously defense may be an issue on the perimeter. Between Garland and Mitchell, there's not a lot of defensive mastery there. However, Mitchell has put focus on this part of the game. In his preseason game against the Sixers, Mitchell played with a ton of effort against James Harden, which is a promising sign to his commitment to that end of the floor. But they still do have two incredible rim protectors that can also play out in space with Mobley and Allen. I expect this to be one of the most fun teams in the league, and the Cavs are going to be the League Pass darling all season with how this roster is currently constructed. While they may not be a title team this year, that youth and inexperience will become a huge factor in the playoffs. Don't be surprised if they upset one of those top 5 teams in the conference. I give all the credit in the world to Koby Altman and head coach JB Bickerstaff for making the Cavaliers a credible contender in probably the most stacked Eastern Conference we have ever seen. If you like this content, please hit that subscribe button to join the Ant Colony and like this video to push us up that YouTube algorithm. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it every time, and I'll see you next week.